It's great to be back. So I gotta say, it's a little more intense this year than it was last year. I mean, this is crazy. I would have loved to have been here last night. I heard Marco did a great job. I'm a Red Sox season ticket holder though, so I saw the Sox win in the 9th, and I can tell you this, I report to you this morning that the state of Red Sox Nation is good. We're in first place, and it's about time. So, this has been a great week. It's been an exciting week, especially if you have a talk show talking about politics. We had Hillary announce on Sunday. So I gotta say, I do think it's pretty interesting that she decided to announce to the world that she was running by email. I don't know that I would have done that if I were Hillary. Think about it. Why would we do that? It's like Alex Rodriguez deciding that he was going to pass out business cards that are shaped like a syringe. You can do it, but why? I'm sorry, I will never get along with the Yankees. And then Marco announces on Monday, and that was really exciting. I mean, this is Florida versus Florida, right? This is, for us from Florida, this is going to be more intense than FSU versus Florida. And it's very interesting, we ran a clip of Jeb Bush 5 years ago tearing up when he was introducing Marco. And he said, Marco Rubio, I love him so much, he makes me want to cry. This week, our own Casey Hunt interviewed Jeb in New Hampshire, said, well, what do you think about Marco? He goes, I love Marco. And then he went off to cry. So this is going to be, Jeb's going to be fine, trust me. But what a race. For those of you that weren't here last year, that just really quickly, a little bit of my background. I'm from Northwest Florida. It's also known as the Redneck Riviera. LA, Lower Alabama. AA, America's Albania. We've got 1,000 names for it. But I ran, as Jennifer said, in 1994. And I was the first Republican elected down there since 1872. And they hung the last Republican they sent to Washington. So I wasn't supposed to win. Even my own dad, when I told him I was running against a guy named Earl Hutto, who had been in office for 16 years, my dad said, well, that's great, Joey, but I'm voting for Earl. But I found out something very interesting that year. You didn't need your dad's vote to win. You just needed a picture of your opponent with Bill Clinton. And I had it. I mean, so, Bill, you're bad. No! Everybody couldn't stand Bill Clinton at the time. And it actually worked for me pretty well. Because I figured out over time what it took to win as a 30-year-old with no money, no name ID, no connections. It seems to me our biggest challenge going into 2016 is figuring out how to win the White House again. We've lost 5 out of the last 6 elections in the popular vote. It hasn't been close sometimes. And we have too many people that are just happy enough winning the battles but losing the war, feeling good about themselves because they ran a good campaign, and they were the most righteous, and they were the most glorious, and they were right. You know what? Phil Belichick doesn't coach the Patriots to feel good about himself. Ted Williams was an SOB. He cared about winning. Larry Bird was so ornery and tough about winning that you would swear this guy was not a basketball player from French Lick, Indiana, but that he was a primary voter in Nashua, New Hampshire. Ornery! Madge tried to be his friend for 25 years, and Larry Bird wasn't interested about it because all Larry Bird cared about was winning. And it's very simple, this difference between winning and losing. It comes down to math. It just comes down to math, counting the votes, getting your people out. Now listen, this is a simple concept, and I'm a simple man. I'm not even good at math. I went to the University of Alabama. Go Tide! We may not be good at math, but we don't have to be, because every year we only have to count the number 1. But anyway, go Tide! Hey, I don't need any of that talk back there. Whoever's for the Buckeyes, you can leave. Now, if you're a Notre Dame fan, we'll talk about that game. Okay, we're not going to start like a college. Do I look like Lee Corso here? Come on, let's start. So, like I said though, when it comes to the importance of this election, everyone loves to say, you know, this election is the most important election of our lifetime. I've heard that 20 times in my lifetime. Let me tell you something. This year, if you're a Republican, and if you are a conservative, and you care about who controls the Supreme Court over the next generation, and you can care who runs the lower courts for the next generation, and you care about who runs the bureaucracies for the next generation, if you care about the Second Amendment and whether the Second Amendment means what the Second Amendment says it means, if you care about life issues, if you care about federalism, if you care about the relationship between the federal government and the states and the individuals, then this election matters. Matters more than any election in a very long time, because on all of those issues in the Supreme Court, it is 5-4. And if we lose another election and another election and lose the White House for another 4 to 8 years, we will lose the courts and the federal government for a generation, and we just can't afford that. You know, there's a critical time for America as well, not just in the courts, but for people that are working who are losing hope. My dad, you know, he was unemployed for 1.5 years. And I know what that's like. Somebody that plays by the rules, somebody that does all the right things, somebody who works hard, and then somebody that gets caught up in a bad economy. And we drove around the Southeast for 1.5 years with my dad struggling to look for a job. And after he died, I actually found, in his belongings, I actually found a diary that he had. And it's a diary that he started to try to make sense of that time, where every day he would say what he was doing to find a job and talk about, you know, the hope of getting that job. And after about 1 year, he stopped. And he wrote in there, discouraged, he wrote, he said, God will find a way. And he did. And despite the troubles that my dad faced, he never lost his faith in God. And importantly to us, and the lessons that it taught me, he never stopped voting Republican. He always believed that free markets gave him the best chance to get back to work. He always was scornful of a politician who promised him that a new government program would somehow get him back working at a place like Lockheed, where he lost his job. And that's happening across America, and it's not just happening over the past 4 years or the past 8 years. This is something that is a generational challenge that our candidates have to tap into. Because the rich, and this isn't Elizabeth Warren saying this, Alan Greenspan said it. It's a reality. The rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer. The middle class is getting squeezed. The working class is getting left behind. Too big to fail banks are getting bigger. And we have got to stop preaching capitalism to single moms while we practice socialism with the biggest banks on Wall Street. Crony capitalism doesn't work. And this year, I got to tell you, this year with the candidate that it looks like the Republican Party is going to be running against, I think it's an issue that will actually work well for Republicans. If we let Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton take care of their 1% friends on Wall Street, and we worry about the other 99% of the Republican Party, we can win. one other thing that we've got to do, and I think we're going to do it because I think we're all excited, just walking around excited about the field of candidates that we have. We've got to get somebody that understands in their guts that what we believe in, that conservatism, that free enterprise, that freedom, it applies as much to an 18-year-old in South Central LA as it applies to a hedge fund manager in Greenwich, Connecticut. In fact, if you believe what Ronald Reagan believed and what Margaret Thatcher believed, a shopkeeper's daughter, that actually what we believe matters more to an 18-year-old Latino in South Central LA, because a 65-year-old hedge fund broker in Greenwich, Connecticut is going to have all the lawyers and all the accountants and all the lobbyists to help him out. If you believe that, then you can reconnect with middle-class Americans and working-class Americans, and we can win this election. And with your help, the help of the New Hampshire primary voter, we can do it. We can win, and we can reclaim the American dream. And I think it's going to happen. I'm really, really excited, because I think we've learned from the mistakes of the past. Let's hope so. So with that, let's introduce our panel, our very distinguished panel. We're going to talk about media in the 2016 campaign, and let's start with Stephen Hayes. Steve.